The warning to Peter. Then saith Jesus unto them, All ye shall be offended because of me this night. For it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. But after I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee. Peter answered and said unto him, Though all men shall be offended because of thee, yet will I never be offended. Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, that this night, before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. Peter said unto him, Though I should die with thee, yet will I not deny thee. Likewise also said all the disciples. The three evangelists agree in placing our Lord's warning to Peter, The cock shall not crow till thou hast denied me thrice, at this point. St. Matthew and St. Mark connect it with the general words, All ye shall be offended because of me this night. St. Luke enlarges the address to Peter, beginning with the words, Simon, Simon, Satan hath desired to have thee, that he may sift thee as wheat. No one, I think, has felt any surprise at the introduction of these words immediately after the institution of the Lord's Supper and before the agony. It has been felt that they stood most appropriately there. And though the attempt to give a reason for any feeling of this kind is often abortive, yet there is assuredly very much plausibility, at least in the commonplace, that Peter, as the most affectionate and self-confident of the disciples, was warned how little he could depend upon himself, how little strong personal affection would avail him in the hour of trial. It is but an expansion of this remark to say that Peter was taught along with the other disciples, that the feeling of family union which their meeting at the Passover had expressed and celebrated was quite insufficient to keep them together or to retain any one of them in his allegiance, that unless God were binding them by a close and mighty bond to himself, and were upholding them in it, they could not preserve their unity. Peter was especially reminded that unless he held fast the confession, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God, and rested on him who had revealed that truth to him, he would certainly deny Jesus of Nazareth to be his master, however lively and energetic his attachment to him in that character might be. Taken with the context of Peter's history, it is difficult to deduce any other moral from his acts or our Lord's words than this. But this is the consistent carrying out of the principle which we have traced everywhere, that the divine sonship and royalty of Christ are presupposed in all his acts and utterances, are testified of by the sins and unbelief, as well as by the faith and obedience of his disciples. The agony. Then cometh Jesus with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and saith unto the disciples, Sit ye here, while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then saith he unto them, My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here, and watch with me. And he went a little farther, and fell on his face, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. And he cometh unto the disciples, and findeth them asleep, and said unto Peter, What, could ye not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. He went away again the second time, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them, and went away again, and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Then cometh he to his disciples, and saith unto them, Sleep on now, and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that doth betray me. Every variation in the story of the agony is deserving of the most careful observation and reflection. One part of the description in St. Luke is inseparably connected in our mind with the narrative, nay, has almost given it its name. Still, on the whole, St. Matthew is the more full and minute. The impression of anguish, of solitude, of one craving for sympathy and not finding it, is brought out perfectly by him, and the repetition of the prayer with the memorable change in it we owe especially to him. I have nothing to add to what thousands have said of it, and it is after all what has not been said of it, the unuttered, unutterable experience of human beings in all kinds and states of suffering for 1800 years, which has brought out its meaning. I think I might safely leave it to that experience to declare whether the word Father has not been felt to contain the very essence of the sorrow and the consolation, whether if that were withdrawn the whole record would not become utterly incoherent, pervaded by a vague horror from which the heart could find no escape, and yet to which it could give no form. The intensity of the sorrow is surely in this, that it is filial sorrow, the distinct will of the Son coming forth as if it were something separate and alone, yet striving in the agony of prayer to submit itself, to claim its perfect essential unity with the fatherly will. Who can find words except those which the evangelists give even to indicate this conflict and this sacrifice, a sacrifice which was complete from the very intenseness of the conflict? The words must be paradoxical and contradictory, which we use to denote such a struggle of life and death. Yet who does not feel that the truth which they shadow forth lies at the very root of all the feelings and sorrows of humanity and of every individual man? Who does not feel that the very secret of the power and life of the gospel is lying there? No one has ever questioned that if the New Testament contains more than a few beautiful moral maxims, if it really touches upon the deepest root of man's being, the story of the agony is the most living and inward part of it, that by which we are to understand the rest. And why is it so? Because the sonship of Christ is here more distinctly and fully revealed than even in the temptation. Why is it so? But because the relation of Christ to all human beings, that kingly relation which we have traced through his different acts of power and mercy, is here brought out as wonderfully. He enters into the deepest experience of human sufferings. He enters into the innermost depth of that struggle of the human spirit to be independent, which is the ground of all its suffering and all its sin. He treads that winepress alone, and there is none with him. But he comes forth with the dyed garments of the conqueror. Again and again, one feels how miserable these attempts at commentary and elucidation are. The simple narrative contains the whole. The mind of the writer was so penetrated and possessed by the idea of the divine Son and the divine King that he could utter only the words, or a few of the words, by which the Son of God himself had expressed it. No one evangelist is able to take in the whole mystery. Each gives some one side or glimpse of it, their differences having, no doubt, justified themselves to the hearts and consciences of men in different stages and moods of suffering. The entire result of all belonging to the history and life of the Church Universal.